Hey everybody, Stinger here. I want to invite you to a pretty cool podcast.
Watch this film. Be quite nice. Have a good time. You'll be very evil. You'll love that Danhausen.
Hey, this is Big Sexy Kevin Nash.
Yes, it is I, Big E, but more importantly, it is you.
And you might remember me from such YouTube greats as Being the Elite and Chris Daniels Almost Dies.
And if you're looking for the very best wrestling content, you better come to Good Mic Work Commentaries.
And I'm just going to tell you now, as a role model, you got to tune into this because if you also want to be a role model, you got to learn from the best.
We have a rapport, and we have been so close over so many years. This is not a cameo or a paid endorsement in any regard. This is a message of friendship.
Man, we met 20 years ago, 21 years ago now. Time is flying, isn't it?
I want to wish you all the best in your YouTube channel, and hopefully I can maybe make a special guest appearance on there sometime.
And he used to say, "Hey, Greg Morgan," and he used to say, "Please call me Greg," and I wouldn't do it.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Awesome YouTube channel. Now, if you've seen these videos before, you know what I'm talking about.
We would do verbal chain wrestling. You know, we'd be off in the yard, the schoolyard at recess.
And he's also a 40-year-old wrestling fan. That's a long damn time.
And we'd just be staring at each other, and he'd say, hammerlock. And I'd say, all right, I've reversed the hammerlock into a hammerlock of my own, then I put you in a headlock. And, you know, that would go on for hours.
He's not going to fill your head with bullshit. He's going to tell you real deal, what's up, and that's that.
Raw, SmackDown, NXT. This guy covers it all, my friends. I want you to go to his page, Good Mic Work on YouTube.
Check out Good Mic Work Commentaries on YouTube.
But we would have fun. We would run around. There would be a wooden hoop we would hit with a stick, and it would go down a hill.
I'm about to go and watch a few videos myself.
It's a very practical apparatus.
We're really lacking in the world right now with some people that have a freaking brain cell.
And now look at him. He has more YouTube views and subscribers than I do, and I'm fine with it because I played such an integral role in his upbringing.
Don't you dare be sour.
We always talked about wrestling. He was a big Luthez guy, and of course I had an affectation for the Hackenschmidts.
Clap for Good Mic Work Commentaries.
This is RJ City, a wrestling rock on tour.
And feel the pow.
Listen to the podcast. Subscribe.
You are watching Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Just want to encourage all you guys to check out Good Mic Work Commentaries.
And if you don't, we're going to have a problem.
Do it!
Do it.
Do it now!
Thanks a lot for the encomium and the nice words about my father's Hall of Fame induction.
Hope our paths cross again sometime down the road. Would love to shake your hand again, and good luck on this podcast.
And you don't just watch it one time. You can rewatch every single one of them.
And now, Good Mic Work Commentaries and Greg Morgan presents the Winged Eagle Podcast.
What's up, guys? Happy Sunday, and welcome back to another and hopefully final special Sunday edition of the Winged Eagle Podcast today for October 24th, 2021. Hope you guys are having a great day. We are up here again on a Sunday because AEW Dynamite for the past 2 weeks has been on Saturday nights due to them being bumped off TNT. So we have been doing the podcast a little bit differently the last couple of weeks, so we're up here again to talk about a whole lot of stuff today. Holy shit. I'm really liking the Sunday stuff because I can come up here prime time. We're only going head-to-head with one NFL game instead of a bunch during the day earlier today, and I've got all the time in the world. I got nowhere to be. I got a nice cold beer open, and we'll hang out and talk about a lot of stuff, wrestling results, wrestling news, and a whole lot of fucking drama between Becky Lynch and Charlotte, and this is fun stuff. Far more compelling and riveting than anything they do on TV. So we will be talking a lot about that and going through the latest in terms of what's going on between those two and what WWE is going to do going forward, what the plans are for Survivor Series, what they're going to do tomorrow night on Raw, and all the latest with Charlotte and Becky and all the heat and the bad feelings and crazy stuff, man. I love it. I just want it to be more. The more chaos, the better, if you ask me, because at least it gives us something to talk about here on these podcasts. But in addition to the Becky and Charlotte stuff on today's menu, we're going to talk wrestling news and get into some more of that, including some get well wishes to JR for his skin cancer diagnosis. We're going to offer congratulations to Corey Graves and Carmella. We are going to talk about some of that weird heat and the backstage potential story reported by Bodyslam.net regarding the MSK booing at the NXT arena, which is really weird. We're going to talk a few news and notes, a couple little tidbits from the Renee Paquette, interview on the Ariel Helwani show. Last night's Bound for Glory for Impact was interesting. I did not order the pay-per-view, but I did read through the results. We'll talk about a couple of things that happened there. The latest edition of Dark Side of the Ring featured XPW this week. Watched that last night. We'll talk about that a little bit. And we'll talk about a great weekend of wrestling. SmackDown and Rampage were both pretty good. Rampage was incredible with Andrade and Pac. I enjoyed that more than their first encounter. My God, what a match. And SmackDown wasn't half bad either. The poor talent is exhausted from coming back from Saudi Arabia, and they ran the great angle with Brock Lesnar, writing him off TV for a bit, and then the absolutely disastrous main event belt swapping segment, which just completely led to a shitstorm of activity. We'll kind of detail all that. We're going to open up with the belt swapping controversy first, but then we're going to circle back and touch on the rest of SmackDown. And of course, we'll do a full review of last night's Dynamite as well, which was an amazing show. The Rhodes brothers opened and closed a phenomenal show. You would think that I would be horrified at the idea of Cody Rhodes beating Malachi Black, but I got to tell you, if they had to do it, and you knew they were, if they had to do it, I think they did it in the best way possible. Lots of activity, redemption for Cody. It was a situation where it was a Cody victory that I didn't entirely hate, which means AEW did it right, and couldn't have asked for more out of that Cody victory. I didn't want to see it. I wanted to see Malachi Black wipe the floor with Cody Rhodes. That would continue on his, his metamorphosis or this change that he's undergoing. I think there was a lot of story you could still be told there, but Cody Black 3, feel like you got to put Cody over here, and they did it in a way to where it does not bury, harm, diminish at all the status of Malachi Black. If anything, I think he's just as interesting in AEW. That's not easy to pull off, and I think they did that last night on Dynamite with a really, really solid show, which actually did go, I guess, head-to-head with an encore edition of SmackDown. WWE aired SmackDown, I guess, on Fox. Was it Fox or FS1? Last night, head-to-head with Dynamite. What's that about WWE? They're not competition again? What is that phrase? Also, AEW blowing them away. In ticket sales. I forgot where the arena is. It's coming up late November, early December. They're both run in the same building about 2 weeks apart, and AEW's crushing them in ticket sales, blowing them away. So I think most fans can attest, those that have been to both. AEW shows are just more fun to attend. They just are. That's probably why the ticket sales are doing so much better there. But we'll be discussing a lot of those little tidbits as we go here. Seems like Tony Khan has been a little bit quiet this week, which is good. Felt like he was going a little bit overboard last couple of weeks with a lot of his trash talking and stuff. A lot of fans taking issue with it because, of course, they're no fucking fun and have never had fun ever in their lives. But the most notable one that kind of spoke out against Tony Khan's behavior was Eric Bischoff. And Bischoff, of all people, to criticize an executive's behavior. I mean, aside from Tony Khan, getting a little full of himself on Twitter here and there, my God, at least it's not driven by just so much malice and hate and evil and trying to put Vince out of business. Seems like he's a guy that's having a lot more fun than Bischoff was back in the day, that seemed to have just so much hate, in his heart for WWE, where Tony Khan grew up a WWE fan. So I found it odd that Bischoff, of all people, is going to criticize how somebody else behaves, but Bischoff is also speaking from experience, and I didn't exactly disagree with what he said. And Tony Khan was actually a little bit quieter this week, and I even have to admit that even though I don't think what Tony Khan is doing is harming his company in any way, I don't consider it to be obsessive, but I do consider it to be maybe a little bit too much. Maybe he should pull it back a little bit, pump his brakes a little bit. I agree. And maybe that's what he was doing this week. So we might touch on a little bit of that as we go, depending on what people are saying in the chat and what we discuss as we go through. Like I said, it's going to be a relatively casual hangout. We do have a format. We do have a run sheet. We do have things to talk about, but it's going to be done in a very casual sense because I want to hear what you guys have to say a lot about this stuff too. And it should be a fun night. So let's get into it. UBS Arena. Thank you, Monique, for that. I don't even know where that is. But anyway, let me say hi to everybody that's here in the chat. Go do a couple of Patreon shout-outs, and then we will open up with the crazy news regarding Becky Lynch and Charlotte and all of the fallout from Friday night. And man, Charlotte has got some heat on her, boy. What a little brat. Actually, they were both brats. Becky and Charlotte both came off as bratty little assholes in that segment. But I think Charlotte is, starting to lose some of that support. And with her relationship with Andrade, and egos involved and things like that, it seems like the talent, and we're going to talk about several different internet reports here, but it seems like most are on Becky's side. So we'll unpack all of that in just a minute, but let me just say hello to those of you hanging out here in the chat. We got little Justin J. Lambo, Tatanani, Wubio, Jay. Already got you. Sam, what's up, Jimmy Anderson? Welcome back, man. Great being here. Thank you for being here. I know it's a very odd time for you to be listening to a podcast in your neck of the woods, but thanks again, as always. Are they milking this Reigns-Lesnar feud all the way to Mania? And if so, how do you do that? Well, Lesnar is the one guy you can do that with. If anybody can have a long-term storyline booked, it's Lesnar because he's not on TV all the time. And in a weird way, I didn't predict it. I cannot believe I didn't see this coming. It's 5 miles away. I was still kicking myself in the Crown Jewel review when we talked about Brock being booked for SmackDown. I'm like, well, he's going to be on the same fucking plane. Might as well do SmackDown before you head home. And he can come out there and either leave SmackDown and go to Raw, or there's really no reason with Survivor Series on the horizon for him to be there. So depending on what his contract is, I mentioned in the Crown Jewel review that Brock could be gone from TV until next year. I just didn't say how that was going to happen. Of course he's going to come out there after being screwed and fuck shit up and get suspended. That's the easiest and most lazy way to write it. I can't believe that I didn't see that coming. But with Brock now, you can push Lesnar and Reigns to Mania if Brock is suspended and he's not on TV until, let's say, Royal Rumble. Wins the Royal Rumble and then goes on to face Roman, although I think that's way too far ahead to try to figure out what they're going to do for Mania, because I still think they want to factor in The Rock either for this year or at 39 for LA against Roman and how that all factors in. But at this point, I am not against a 2-year-long Roman Reigns title reign. I'm not, because the longer it goes, the more awesome it's going to be when he drops it. So it's interesting stuff. Now Lesnar, which we'll talk about later, as he went ape shit on SmackDown, they suspended him, and now he's off TV until, he doesn't have an advocate anymore to kind of, help get things done for him. So it's going to be interesting in storyline how they get him back on TV, because Pierce and Sonya are the authority figures on both shows. So it's not like he can just hop to Raw. So he'll be off TV for a bit, I'm assuming, based on what we saw on Friday night. Reese Jones is here. Good to see you, man. David Brown, welcome back, man. I am glad you are back with us, and greetings from Scotland, and thank you for staying up late or early or whatever the hell time it is over there, man. I appreciate it. Big J is here. Charlie's back. Oh, God, George Morris, what is his $5 say this week? Hey, Greg, how are you doing? Have you watched football today? A little. Detroit Lions 0-7, blocked, lost Cobra Kai. Bears lost Cobra Kai season for Young Johnny, all 10 episodes, and Silver. Are they going to feature, is it going to be like flashback on Johnny? Because I think they're going back, we saw the origin stories of Kreese and shit. We got a little bit of the Johnny stuff in the season 1, though, where it talked about his stepdad and stuff. If anything, I think we might get a young Miyagi, so I'm not sure what you're referring to there, but Cobra Kai comes out in about 2 months. I'm ready for it. Yes, I know the Lions lost. They fucking suck. What else is new with the Detroit Lions? But you know what? I remain loyal, and I am not a bandwagon jumper. I can't help where I was born. I'll probably live in California for the rest of my life. I spent time in North Carolina, but I was born in Detroit, and those 4 teams, those 4 pro sports teams are at the top of my list. I have no choice but to root for them. That's called loyalty. And they suck. They fucking suck, and they'll never win a Super Bowl ever. The Bears ain't doing much better. They got lit up by Tampa Bay today. I'll tell you what, man, if Tom Brady keeps putting up numbers like this, he threw 4 touchdowns in the first half. If he continues to produce those type of statistics, I'm pretty sure he's going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. He is. I mean, there's no denying it. The numbers are there for Tom Brady. He will probably get voted in to the Hall of Fame. He's pretty good at the football playing, that Tom Brady, I'll tell you. Vash Starwind is here. Good to see you. Thank you, Monique, earlier for that arena name. Good to see you. Jonathan Lyman Brand is here. Deshaun Robinson, good. Monkey Wrench, happy. Angie Law is in the house. Hey, girl, what's up? I need this after my Chiefs lost today. All right, well, all of our teams are doing shitty. True, the game, 69. Diet Vodka, Monkey Wrench again. Nice. We've got Dustin. Who am I missing? Trey Williams, Red Raven, Isaac, right on. Stephen Harris, Shell Shock. Don't think I'm going to be able to shout out everybody. We got to get into our business. And Devlin Husband, Monkey Wrench Party up in here. Hell yeah. And Brittany J, what's up? Good to see everybody here. Let me shoot over to the Patreon page, which, as always, I did not have pulled up, but it takes just a second. There's my relationship manager. This is where I manage all of my relationships with you guys. Thank you very much to Jordan Hendricker, Divine Ricks, JJ Legg, Nikita Abalakin, Chris Miner, Super Fluffy Toaster, Deshaun Robinson, J Smooth 99, Martin Can, Alex Dredge, Apron Bump Podcast, Alan Carter, Brandon Yelverton, Nick Musser, Jimmy Anderson, K-Dog's Kennel, Ryan Y, Devlin Husband, John Redifer, Claudio Clavidetcher, Daniel Rodriguez, Barry MK, Josiah Blevin, Scott Moss, Domanian Ewell, John Riffle, Michael Kumo, Naveed, Keith Salyers, Blake Moran, as always, thank you to this Patreon supporters over there. And I know many of you are in the chat right now, so double thank you to y'all. If you have pledged $200 or more lifetime or $10 or more a month, you got a secondary shout out down below in the description with all the social media links, webpage, all that stuff. You can pick up the audio of this podcast ad-free over on my website. If you want to download the MP3, you can do that just a little bit later on tonight or listen wherever podcasts are found. I guess I should also tell you guys what to expect in the next couple of days. Big week of videos coming up all the way through next week. So tomorrow we're going to be back, as always, for Monday Night Raw review. Raw's not looking very good at all. It's a new era with the same fucking match we've been seeing for the past couple of months. RK Bro taking on AJ and Omos again. Raw's probably going to suck. So if it does suck, we're going to come out here, bust a 30-minute review out, and I'm gone. So that'll be tomorrow night. Wednesday, we are back with AEW Dynamite watch-alongs. We've missed the past 2 weeks, missed the past 2 weeks because AEW has been on Saturday, so we're back with that on Wednesday. Then, this coming Saturday, we will be back with the Winged Eagle at a regular time. This coming Saturday, October 30th. We'll talk about Dynamite, and we'll talk about Halloween Havoc, which airs for NXT on Tuesday. I haven't really watched much of the new NXT other than Braun Breaker and a couple of other things, so we will give my thoughts on Halloween Havoc next week. And as well as that, we have 1 week from tonight is Halloween night, October 31st, Halloween night, 1 week from tonight, Sunday night. I don't have to work. I got nowhere to be. I ain't trick-or-treating. I might hand out some candy to little fuckers that knock on my door. But other than that, I got the night free. So why don't we do a watch-along of, like, Halloween Havoc? I was thinking about maybe doing something weird and kooky like 95. That's the one where, like, Hogan gets butt-humped by the Yeti and the Giant and stuff. He throws him off the Cobo Hall. Something like that. I think we're going to do a Halloween Havoc 1 week from tonight, watch-along. So if you got nothing to do on Halloween, come hang out with us. I'll light a pumpkin candle or some shit in the background, and we'll watch Hogan toss some big guys over roofs of buildings. It might be fun. Or we'll do another year. Just 95 came to mind just because of how ridiculously hokey it was, and I think it might be fun just to goof on it and laugh at it and make fun of it. Things like that, and have some nice cold ones. So that's our week. Monday, Raw review. Wednesday, watch along for AEW Dynamite. Saturday, podcast. Sunday, Halloween night, watch along for those scoring at home. So anyway, while you guys are smashing that thumbs up button, I'm going to start getting into this wrestling news, but I'll let you smash it and open up your other 6 accounts and like it on those as well. Please hit me with a like. I would definitely appreciate it. If you are here watching for the first time and you're not a subscriber, do it. Subscribe button's right below you. Click that, hit that notifications bell, all that nonsense. While you guys are doing that, I'm going to talk about Becky and Charlotte. Oh boy. So we are going to circle back and talk about SmackDown as a whole later. But for now, we want to talk about Becky and Charlotte and all the fallout from the disastrous main event segment on SmackDown has to go down in as one of the worst segments in recent history, even including Thunderdome shit and everything. This was just such a terrible idea. We were talking about it all week. We were talking about it right after the draft, that most likely they were going to have to do some belt swapping bullshit in order to rectify what they have done in the draft by drafting your Raw champions to the other brand. And what's so frustrating about this is there's like so many ways that you can avoid having to do this. And WWE, it saddens me that they don't give a fuck about title histories or lineage or anything like that. Everything is so jumbled, you can't trace anything back anymore. I have no idea what's going on with the tag team titles. Maybe one of you do. Somebody in the chat probably does. But do either set of WWE tag team titles right now trace back to like Demolition or the Hearts or the Bulldogs? Are either of those titles one of those titles? Or are those belts long gone? Because after the draft in like 2002, then we started having World Tag Team Champions and WWE Tag Team Champions. And then they unified, I think, and you know, the WCW titles were in there for a while, and I just don't. And now we have the Raw and SmackDown titles. Where are the original tag team titles? Where are they? Like, I don't even fucking know. They don't even exist, I don't think. And that just sucks, you know. And here you've got like two women's titles, and you're just trade, and they're probably going to add that title now to Charlotte's title lineage, putting her at, what is she at now, 13 or 14, something like that. She's only a couple away from her dad breaking his record. She'll probably get there before Cena does at this rate. And I just find that it just devalues their championships, and it shows that they really just don't give a shit. There is so much history in that company. And for them to, you know, sometimes it seems like they give a shit about history, you know, and, you know, preserving the history of WWE. And other times they just take a huge steaming fucking dump on it. And this was one of those situations. It was bullshit, you know, where they can't think of anything else other than just doing a belt swapping ceremony. And we're going to talk about the various things that they could have done here as we talk about some of these reports. But I actually reluctantly went on record during the Crown Jewel review and saying, as much as I hate the belt swapping stuff, I actually agreed with it in terms of where it allows you to go moving forward. The situation itself is stupid. They should never put themselves in a situation where they're drafting Raw and SmackDown champions to the other show. Just make the champions either ineligible or, light bulb, don't name the fucking titles after the show you're on. How goddamn hard is that, idiots? Here's what you do. WWE and Universal men's and women's title. WWE and Universal tag team title. Intercontinental, U.S., done. Like, it's so fucking easy, you know, and you don't have to name anything after any show, and you just have, you know, like Charlotte will be the Universal Women's Champion and Becky will be the WWE Women's Champion. Just like Roman and Big E hold the respective titles there. Do the same thing with the tags. That way you don't ever have to find yourself in a situation where, like, here's my belt, can I have yours? Like, it's so fucking dumb. But as crazy as it sounds, and we'll talk about this in a minute, there was a lot in the midst of a lot of these reports. One of them, I believe it was the report by Alex McCarthy, had claimed that Charlotte even kind of politic to drop the belt to Bianca Belair last week on Monday, so Bianca could be the Raw champion. And I was actually the one that said I didn't really want that because of what Becky did to Bianca at SummerSlam, beating her in like a minute like that, or just a couple of seconds. What needs to happen in order to pay that shit off and to make that fucked up situation okay is for Bianca Belair to beat Becky Lynch for the title. And now if you put the belt on Bianca and then take the belt off of Becky or something before she comes to Raw, then you're back in that same situation again. Not that Bianca can't still redeem herself and beat Becky Lynch, but then she'll just be beating Becky Lynch by retaining the title instead of beating Becky Lynch and winning the title, which is what I'd prefer. So even though the belt swap is dumb, it's set up a future match in terms of something that I'd prefer in a better way. Becky and Bianca for the title, Bianca beating her. I still believe that Bianca will beat Becky Lynch clean for the title right in the middle of the ring somewhere on pay-per-view. And I think Becky remaining champion is the best way to achieve that. So the belt swap is just something that they had to do, but they shouldn't have to do this because they could have gotten way more creative than this. They could have thought about this like we all were. All of us were talking about the potential draft scenarios. And we weren't doing mock drafts over here, but we were talking about which pieces could move where. And we said, like, if they draft Charlotte to SmackDown, then you would think she's going to have to drop the Raw title first and all of these things. But no, WWE just drafts it and then just figures it out later, no matter how fucking stupid it is. So that whole plane ride, that 24-hour fucking ride or whatever it is from Saudi Arabia all the way back here, the best they could come up with is just the belt swapping ceremony because they didn't think about it prior to now. And like, what does that tell you about how they consider their women's titles or their championships, period? You had belts being thrown on the ground and thrown across the ring in this fucking segment and swapped. Could you imagine this, with any men's champion? They don't have to worry about this because it's not the Raw men's title and the Universal or the SmackDown men's title. But putting themselves in a situation like this is just so dumb. Stop naming your belts after shows. And then if you do want to name them after the shows, then just do something cool. Like champions are ineligible for the draft, but once they lose the title, they immediately become a free agent. Wouldn't that be fun? That would just add a little bit extra twist, and it would allow the departing champion, the incumbent champion who now lost the belt, now they have a choice. They can either cut their losses and go find a new journey and a new start on another brand, or they can say, no, I want my belt back. I'm staying here. Might be something fun to add, anything. They've come up with enough dumb shit like brand-to-brand invitationals and whatever the fuck the other one was. They come up with all these dumb-ass rules. Why not make this one? Champs are ineligible to be drafted, but when they lose the titles, they're free agents. Simple as that. Would add some more fun. Unfortunately, that would require WWE to think a little bit more, and we know it's real hard over there for them to do that. So what makes this whole situation and the fallout and what we're about to talk about between Becky and Charlotte so hilariously fucked up is that, god damn, it was so easy to avoid. All you had to do is use your heads a little bit prior to this event taking place. For you guys to, just pat yourselves on the back so much and for WWE to suck their own dicks the way they do. It amazes me that they are willing to just completely trash the meaning and the value of their women's titles by doing something like this. They don't give a shit. They just think, oh, now it's blue. And they've already kind of done this with the Universal. Remember when the Universal title was red? Then they moved it to SmackDown and it's the blue brand. And they're like, well, fuck, I guess we got to make it blue now. I mean, they've even changed that belt because they had to make it one goddamn color with that ugly ass WWE fucking letters stretched across it. Why can't you make the WWE title, like the men's and women's title, like a modern, kicked up version of what the Winged Eagle looked like for the men and the women? And why can't you make the Universal title like a modern version of the big gold belt? Not the exact same, but just like a play on it, a tribute to it, if you will. And make those your two championships. They're 4 championships. I'll tell you why they won't do that, because you can't smear that logo feces all over the front of the fucking belt like they like to do. So they're never going to do anything fun. It's going to be the big, ugly WWE, whatever color they decide to make it. Red or blue or whatever the fuck. It just sucks, man. So it's not consistent. It's not uniform at all. Big E's belt is not even red. It's black. And the SmackDown one is blue. Like, they just don't know it could be. I just wish it was more organized, because I'm a little bit more old-fashioned when it comes to my championships. I want championships to matter. We have a whole bunch of championships in the company right now that don't mean dick. They don't mean anything at all. The 24/7 title, don't even get me started. Those women's tags might as well just be in the fucking toilet bowl. They are worthless, completely worthless. And you have people crying when they win the title. I'm like, it means nothing. These titles are worthless. They're not worth the cheap-ass leather they're fucking printed on. It's ridiculous. So I think that the way the championships are treated and the way they're just passed around and tossed around and swapped, WWE is more, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old kids aren't going to notice or mind this shit at all. And that's why we have to remember, a big part of WWE's audience is our fans that probably don't give a fuck or track this at all. I've just been watching for 40 years. So like when I think about the Intercontinental Championship or the WWE title or a tag team title, I think about a belt with a lot of history behind it. And WWE is just trashing, the history with stuff like this, and the segment itself was fucking awful. So that's kind of what led to the heat. We all saw the segment on SmackDown. Sonya Deville is moderating it. You got Charlotte with her belt, Becky with her belt. Becky earlier on in the night on SmackDown was alluding to the fact that she wants to be Becky 2 belts again. So it sounds like both women are going to be really stubborn, which I liked, because you would think their characters wouldn't just be okay. Would Roman be okay handing his belt over? Probably not. So you would think Charlotte's got a similar ego. She's not going to want to do that. Neither is Becky. So naturally you would think, and they were out there in their gear too, you would think this was going to lead to a challenge. Let's challenge and just unify this shit. Even though I think unification isn't what they need to do either. They want a champion on each show. It could at least get you out of the situation temporarily until you split the belts back up again and get them where they need to be. At least it would make it more fun. But instead, there's this whole awkward exchange of the titles where Sonya asks Charlotte to pass hers over, but she doesn't want to, and Becky's trying to grab it, and Charlotte moves it away, and Becky, she looked like a little kid, like reaching for something, like reaching for a piece of candy, and she can't quite get it, and you could tell on her face she was seeing red. She was like, you just made me look like an idiot by pulling that belt away, and she wanted to fucking rip Charlotte apart. And then Sonya kind of makes Charlotte give her the title, and then Charlotte does, and then Becky goes to grab it again, and Sonya won't give it to her, and Becky is just getting more and more mad. She winds up throwing her title at Charlotte, so both women do wind up exchanging titles, but it's very awkward. It looked terrible, and you look like you had a couple of just whiny little spoiled kids in the ring trying to get their way with each other. It just didn't look good. It was so bad, so awkward. WWE did apparently edit this on the Encore. I don't think it's edited on the YouTube channel though. But at least for the Encore, they kind of edited that up a little bit because they still had to do the ending where Sasha Banks came out and brawled with Charlotte with the show closing and going off the air. And Becky said something like, "I'll see one of you at Survivor Series." So that's all that happened there. Nobody, from what I could tell, because I was working last night, I didn't see the show live. I didn't see anybody noticing anything out of the ordinary at first. It was about an hour or so later when you started hearing about stuff, when Rampage was on the air. Now, Rampage aired. It was taped on Wednesday. Andrade had a fucking match of a lifetime on Rampage against Pac. And during Rampage or after Rampage, Andrade randomly tweets out, "F you, WWE." And all the fans are like kind of giving him shit. "Oh, stop caring about the competition," and all that. But I'm like, why is he tweeting that? That's really weird. His match with Pac had nothing to do with anything. I mean, he is teasing kind of an alliance now with Malachi Black, which is interesting with the whole Zelina, thing they have in common there on TV. But to tweet out "fuck WWE" makes no sense. But apparently what he's referring to had nothing to do with him or his time there, but with what went on with his woman, his fiance, Charlotte, behind the scenes after the match. Now, this was first reported by PW Insider. It was confirmed later on by Sean Ross Sapp that there was basically like a verbal confrontation or a shouting match after SmackDown went off the air between Charlotte and Becky Lynch. Now, Charlotte reportedly hated the belt swap idea and was politicking all day to get it changed. I don't think Becky was a big fan of it either, but they still were going to go through with it. And the report that PW Insider, or the claim that they made in the report, I should say, was that Charlotte didn't like the belt swap idea because she didn't want to look weak. She didn't want her title reign to look weak. I would like to repeat that about what Charlotte said. Charlotte Flair, WWE superstar Charlotte Flair, 145-time world champion, never loses. Viewed as the greatest goddamn thing since slices of loaved bread in WWE's mind, is worried that she is going to look weak. I think that's a ridiculous thing to worry about, Charlotte. If anybody in that company is not going to look weak, it's going to be you. My God, the way they treat her and shove her down the fans' throats and put her over to the degree where it ruins her talent and gets her heat with the fans to where they don't even appreciate how truly good she really is because they're so hung up on the fact that WWE shoves her up our ass. So she's concerned about looking weak. My God, this is where we're at, Charlotte. Really, this makes you sound extremely bratty. and very, very fucking entitled as well. And apparently she didn't like the idea all day. I don't think Becky did either. And when it got time to be in the ring and do this, you just still had a lot of tension, and then things didn't go right. And then Becky felt like she was disrespected with the belts, and Sony didn't know what the fuck to do. It was just really horrible. So apparently after the segment backstage at Gorilla, there were some words exchanged there, and they kind of got into it a little bit, to the point where Charlotte was apparently told to leave. Becky had to stick around and do a dark match. They told Charlotte to get the hell out of there just to not escalate things, and they actually escorted Charlotte. Imagine Roman Reigns or John Cena being escorted from the building. They escort Charlotte from the building, and apparently she headed right down to Orlando to go support Andrade on Dynamite. And I was laughing. I said it in a joke, like when the reports of the shouting match surfaced, that's all we heard so far. So I made a funny tweet about how Becky got pissed at Charlotte's sunny days comment, so she confronted her in the locker room and ripped out a chunk of her hair extensions, and now Charlotte told Vince she wants out of her contract because it's an unsafe working environment, and WWE fears she's going to show up on Dynamite tomorrow night. That was the fear when Brett beat the shit out of Shawn backstage. And then as we hear more and more details of this report, I'm like, holy shit, I wasn't that far off. There actually was some serious heat there, except they didn't get physical with each other. Now, there is more to this story. We had PW Insider. We had, I think, Meltzer, Mike Johnson, Sean Ross Sapp, all commenting on this. There was also a report by Alex McCarthy of TalkSport discussing and detailing the relationship between Becky Lynch and Charlotte and how it has been a little bit strained in the past couple of years. And the relationship was one thing dating back to, Becky's promo on Charlotte where she called her plastic or whatnot, and there's just been a little bit of bad feelings ever since then. So, things kind of really boiled over here. But McCarthy also reported that Charlotte actually, was the one that asked to lose the title to Bianca on Raw. And like I said earlier, the only problem with that is that if you put the belt on Bianca, it kind of takes away Bianca's redemption, I should say, from Becky Lynch. Like, I think Bianca would be better served beating Becky Lynch. Not that a big victory in the main event of Raw against WWE's top female star is bad. It's not. They could have certainly gone with that and ran with it. It's just, in my heart of hearts, I'm a big Bianca Belair fan. I thought she was done kind of wrong at SummerSlam. So I think if they're going to do that to her, to somebody who is a big star, you don't win the title in the main event of WrestleMania and then lose in 2 seconds at the next biggest pay-per-view of the year. That's so fucking weird. So if you're going to do that to her, you better sure as shit redeem her. And I think Becky dropping the belt to Bianca is a better thing to do there. So Charlotte wanting to lose to Bianca, maybe she did, but WWE had their reasons. Now, the Torch is also reporting on some of Charlotte's heat. Now, Charlotte is not as well liked backstage, apparently, as she used to be. Not many people want to work with her because they're going to lose to her if they do. And with most of the talent, they seem to be more on Becky Lynch's side. So if WWE ever finds themselves in a position to where they're in a Brett and Shawn level situation here, and I really do think that's, where a large part of the screw job happened. I think if the heat between Brett and Shawn wasn't as bad, maybe Vince doesn't have that conversation with Brett and says, I want out of my contract. I think money had a big thing to do with it, but I think a lot of it was due to Vince realizing he's got to choose. So if they feel like they got to choose between the two, I think Becky might win this one. I mean, shit, Seth Rollins is there. They can make Becky the new Charlotte. They got time to get Charlotte out of there. She can go to AEW and do that shit. And they've got time to build Becky as the new Charlotte. They will fast track her. However many championship victories she is behind Charlotte, they will get that done in a year. I swear to God. If Becky needs 4 more runs or 5 more runs, whatever it is, to surpass Charlotte, she'll do it in fucking 12 months, man. They will go so hard on that to try to get rid of it. It would be interesting. I just kind of like all this drama in this shit. So it sounds like things are not good in Charlotte and Becky land. And one thing you got to remember here is they are both currently champions. Now, Charlotte, I believe, is going to have to defend the belt against Sasha Banks, next week or something, or at least ahead of Survivor Series. But right now we are set for a Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair showdown at Survivor Series. And the fact that you've got real life heat now, if I'm Vince McMahon, I'm getting these women in a room and I'm doing something along the lines of a Matt Hardy and Edge type of thing, or Brett and Shawn, and I'm saying, look, let's milk it. Yes, you guys have bad feelings. If we could squash it all here, that's great, but let's keep it going on social media. If one of you does an interview or something, don't make it obvious that it's a work, but drop little just jabs. Or if you're asked about Charlotte, insult her and make the fans think that there's legitimate heat here, and then go out and have your Survivor Series match with all the eyes, watching, oh my God, are these women going to beat the fuck out of each other? I think it might make it interesting if you have two women on a collision course that legitimately don't like each other. That's always kind of when the matches are the most interesting. So we'll see. I think the next couple of weeks is going to be really telling if they take the belt off of Charlotte, or Becky for that matter, which is possible. If Bianca beats Becky for the title between now and Survivor Series, or Sasha beats Charlotte for the title, that means WWE, or the relationship between Becky and Charlotte, probably can't be good. Because if you want a big mega match at Survivor Series, wouldn't you want that match to be between your two top female stars? Becky and Charlotte are really it. That is your sexy matchup there on the marquee for Survivor Series, in terms of the women's match anyway. So if they don't go with that, that makes me think there's still some bad blood there if they take the title off of one of them ahead of Survivor Series. So I think that is going to reveal a lot in terms of the situation between those two. I'm curious after this happens if they've exchanged any text messages or whatever's going on between the two of them. And like I said, beefs in wrestling always happen. A lot of times they're always squashed, and you never, hear about too much lifetime heat with two people who just can't get along ever. There's a couple of instances like that, but it's pretty rare. I think at the end of the day, everybody is professionals. And when Becky and Charlotte, the two most decorated women in the company, the two women that make more money than any of the other women there, don't really have a whole lot of reason to complain and be bitchy. So I'm hoping that they can put their differences aside, be professionals, squash this beef, but keep going with the match at Survivor Series and make the fans think they still fucking hate each other. That's the best way to do it at this point, and it might be a career changer for, one of the two, because sometimes accidental things that you don't plan for can change the trajectory of someone's career, like we just saw with Becky Lynch not 3 years ago when she got her face rearranged by Nia Jax, and because of that punch to the face is why she was even in that fucking belt swapping segment last night. So who knows what could spawn from this whole situation. Maybe it'll be good, or knowing WWE, it could be a complete and total utter disaster in every sense in the word, much like that segment was last night. So good job, WWE. Way to go. See, now your horrible booking and your shitty planning and your lazy fucking day-to-day operations when it comes to anything creative, now it's starting to cause problems with your talent. Even your talent knows it's fucked up. You got Charlotte running around there. Charlotte, 14-time women's champion or whatever she is, who just gets treated like gold, is worried about looking weak because of your shitty booking. That's pretty incredible if you're able to accomplish that. Imagine John Cena imagine WWE's booking and writing being so fucking terrible that John Cena is concerned he might look bad. Whew. You got some problems, WWE, in your fucking camp, man. Get your shit together and just stop being stupid. Until then, I'm going to be getting the popcorn out, and I'm going to be watching this situation between Becky and Charlotte. I hope it gets worse. I hope somebody's got to leave. I hope there's a fight. I hope there's just chaos and just discombobulation everywhere. I want Twitter to explode. I want just shit to happen. I want these women to go on a podcast and rip the other. I want Andrade to challenge Seth to a fight. I want it just to explode, implode. Just give us some excitement. If we can't get it from WWE TV, maybe we can get it from WWE behind the scenes. It is possible. So anyway, that's the whole situation and the latest with Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch. What a mess. We'll monitor it, and hopefully we'll have more to say tomorrow night, because Becky, I'm sure, will probably be on Raw with Bianca, and we'll see if they set anything up. Probably a title match. They'll probably do a title match on TV like next week or something between Bianca and Becky Lynch. Wouldn't be surprised. And if they do that, that's a whole lot of title matches for Bianca Belair in a short amount of time. So we'll see what they do. Tomorrow might offer some answers to us, though. Let me go back up here before we get into the next thing and knock out Super Chats. Ike Moore is in with $10. Thank you very much, dude. To me, the Charlotte booking is no different than the Cena booking and Triple H booking back in the day. It is overboard, but yes, I feel Charlotte is one of the best of this era next to Britt Baker. I feel like you can't deny Charlotte's greatness. She is good. But it's usually a lot of times just WWE's treatment of certain people that gets the fans so upset, and that just traces back to what I always preached about John Cena and stuff all those years. And I was like, I just wish fans could separate it, because when wrestling was, during the 90s and stuff, it had a lot of bad people on top. We see that now with these dark side of the rings and the horrible behavior of some of the top stars and the fucking drugs and the abuse and just everything that went on back in the day with the legal trouble and just wrestlers being just disgraceful, getting in trouble, getting arrested, murdering people, being addicted to drugs, in and out of rehab, domestic violence, all this stuff. Here we have just a guy that's squeaky fucking clean, and because he dresses like a box of Fruity Pebbles, the fans can't get past it. But he does happen to have Match of the Year candidates every year, and in terms of what WWE needed at the time, right after one of their top stars murdered his fucking family, they need to screech the brakes, go in a completely different direction, try to present a more wholesome image, and having John Cena on top. For me as a wrestling fan, I understood for the survival of wrestling why they had to do that. But wrestling fans can't think that deep. They can only think about, Cena won and I'm pissed, instead of the bigger picture. And Charlotte is a lot like that when it comes to the bigger picture. I agree with most Charlotte's complaints. I agree that she was a total fucking brat in that segment. I think the way she's been treated in WWE and the way she has been basically crowned as this queen, it does affect the ego. She probably does have quite the fucking ego on her. You would imagine she does. She's very, just look at her Instagram. I don't have Instagram, but look at her Twitter. I mean, every picture is just her in some elaborate outfit and posing. She's very about the attention and loves herself and just loves being the queen. You can tell. So egos do exist. They always have. You can't really be in wrestling and be a top star without some sort of an ego. There ain't too many Mick Foleys in wrestling, but there's a whole lot of Charlottes and there's a whole lot of Shawns. And, in a lot of ways, you need some of that in order to be successful, but that also comes at a price in terms of heat and people not wanting to work with you and shit like that. And then if the company treats you, like you're the greatest thing that's ever lived, then that's going to get you a lot of resentment from the fans too, or from your peers in your locker room. I'm sure you guys are at work or various jobs, whatever you do for a living. Have you ever watched someone get a promotion that you felt didn't deserve it? I bet you have. So you can probably relate to some of this stuff. So, you got to think about in terms of wrestling just amplified 100 times to where now you are dealing with a lot of money and a lot of exposure and a lot of ego. And you're going to have issues. It's amazing that we don't have more, to be honest with you. So fun stuff, man. Fun stuff all around. Chris Ludecki's here with $5. Thanks, man. Do you think Charlotte may lose her smile and just forfeit the SmackDown belt and go home? She might. I think it would be funny if Charlotte turned up at a house show wearing an outsider shirt back when Shawn and Brett and stuff were having their issues, and Shawn was just a mess. He really missed his clique buddies, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, and he showed up at a WWE live event wearing a fucking outsider shirt. He got so much heat for that. There's a picture that exists that floating around. You can see him wearing it, smiling, waving, taking a picture. Such a dick. It amazed me he didn't get his ass kicked like Undertaker did and jack him up back then. My God. But that would be funny if Charlotte did something like that, or if she wore like an AEW shirt or something like that. I don't think Charlotte is overrated at all. Charlotte just, I think WWE overrates her. I think Charlotte is very good, and Charlotte deserves to be the Ric Flair of the women's division, absolutely. But it does get a little bit overboard with WWE. That's why I try to separate it, and I don't try to bullshit myself and say, oh, Charlotte can't wrestle. Don't be stupid. Let's just say WWE needs to stop with the shoving up the asses of her, because why do they do that? What the hell? She can lose. It's all good. Might do her some good. Oh, I'm sorry, Dan Price. I knew I had another one, and I apologize too. On Monday night, there was like 2 or 3 super chats that I missed. So if for some reason I do not see it, say, yo, Greg, douche, go up and find my super chat. Dan Price, welcome back, man, and good to see you. Thanks for that $10. I knew I had another $10 one. I was actually looking for it. Hey, Greg, on Twitter, finally, nice, Dynamite 139. I'll look you up. Can you shout out my Kickstarter comic, Bigfoot Knows Karate? It's Godzilla vs. Kong meets Kill Bill. That's awesome. Funded 1,000 in 7 minutes, $3,000 in 2.5 hours. Holy shit, that is awesome. Well, if you have something you can tweet me, I'll certainly retweet that, man, as well. That's fucking awesome. I like all of those things that, here, I'll shoot you a follow over there real quick. Oh, I kind of see it here. Here, I'll retweet it right now. Dang. Godzilla vs. Kong meets Kill Bill. That is probably pretty awesome, man. Well, yeah, congratulations on that. And go check it out. Oh, yeah, and you followed me as well. Right on. Or is that you? Or that's another... Well, Bigfoot Knows Karate followed me. That might be you too. But anyway, yeah, sorry I missed that earlier, my man. Thank you for that. And that is very cool. Very cool indeed. All right. Is that all of them? I think I got them all. We need to get into the next order of business here. Yeah, we're going to talk about Bound for Glory here in just a minute. There was some talk about Adam Shearer, formerly Braun Strowman, turning up last night at Bound for Glory, along with potentially Bray Wyatt, although I think he has a few days left on his no-compete, and nobody really turned up, except for the Iconics or the Inspiration or whatever. So we'll talk about that here in just a minute. We want to wish the best to Jim Ross, who was diagnosed this week with a skin cancer. He posted a very gnarly and bleeding growth on his, I guess, ankle. And JR has no filter. I think there's been like 2 or 3 times that he's posted extremely graphic doctor visit pictures. There was something else wrong with him. I think he fell and busted his face to shit or something. And he just tweeted a picture of his bleeding eye and his mangled face. I'm like, God damn, bro. So he tweets this just disgusting thing on his foot that's just bulging and breaking out of the skin and bleeding. And he says that he feared skin cancer. That is the diagnosis. He's got the thing patched up. Did I mute my mic? There we go. He's got the thing patched up. He worked Dynamite last night. Apparently, this is treatable. We want to wish him the best. We know Jim Ross has taken on far worse than a little ankle skin cancer, and he should be fine. So best of luck to Jim Ross, and just hate to see him suffering and just dealing with stuff. You know, poor guy. He's been through so much, and he's got a whole new chapter in his life now. He's got his little beach condo down there in Florida, and he works for AEW, you know, but he lost his wife and he's had some health issues and stuff, and he's getting older, and, you know, we just love Jim Ross. He's an institution. He's a legend in wrestling, and there's no one like him. So best of luck to you, Jim Ross. Good luck with everything. Also, in some happier news, we have to offer congratulations to Corey Graves and Carmella, who have gotten engaged, I guess a couple days ago or whatever it was. Carmella tweeted out that I guess he proposed to her on her birthday, so they are getting married now. They've been dating, I guess, since 2019. I remember when they got together, there was a lot of talk about that Corey had maybe cheated a little bit on his wife or something with Carmella. Turns out that wasn't the case. They just got divorced. He started dating someone else, and they've been happy together apparently for quite some time. And we talked about in the draft. I mentioned weeks before the draft, I'm like, Carmella will be drafted to Raw. Mark my words. They'll let Corey and Carmella stay together there. They're engaged. Congratulations to them. Carmella seems like a handful. So good luck to you, Corey Graves. Also, I just want to mention this briefly because I'm so incredibly out of the loop when it comes to NXT 2.0. I've watched very little of it. I'm going to try to check out Halloween Havoc this week, but I haven't really noticed, and you guys are going to have to help me, how bad the MSK booing has gotten. Now, MSK are supposed to be babyfaces, right? They're the tag team champions. They're a phenomenal team. And when they came in, they were kind of being met with an unsavory response. Like, a lot of people were surprised, like, why are they getting booed? Well, apparently there might be something to this. It's just a bizarre story, so I wanted to just read it because it was funny. If we were on a time schedule here, I wouldn't even mention this, but since we have no time schedule, let's just talk about it. So it was a bodyslam.net that reported that the possible reason why MSK is being booed so heavily at NXT shows is due to some tweet dating back 3 years ago that Nash Carter made criticizing Izzy. Now, Izzy is that little Bayley fan from back in the day. She's grown up now. I mean, not grown up. I don't know how old she is. She's probably 13 or 14. She's very active. She does stuff. She's active in wrestling. She works for some independent promotions. I think she does some ring announcing, some managing. I've seen a couple of videos of her pop up. She seems like a very driven little girl, and I'm happy to see her, you know, kind of growing up and getting in the business. I think she's going to have a foot in the business, and she's probably going to have a job there if she wants it somewhere. I think one day she should take a chair to Bayley's head and crack her open and beat her for the title or something like that. Would be great. But she's still a kid. And apparently a couple years ago or a few years ago, Nash Carter tweeted out something criticizing her, and her parents wound up holding a grudge and convincing a gathering of NXT fans that go to the shows every week to boo MSK mercilessly. So apparently it might have something to do with that. I think that's crazy. I don't think Izzy has any part of this. She seems way too nice to ever hold a grudge like this, but we have no idea about her parents. Maybe they're just vindictive assholes. I don't know, but I found this story to be so funny, and you can go back and trace back, you know, Reddit posts and people claiming to have, you know, knowledge of this or whatever, including reports of the gathering of fans being moved away from the hard cam and them trying to do stuff to try to silence these. But how many fans can this be? How many fans are in the NXT arena, and how many fans were there prior to what they're doing now? Like less than 100 people or something? I have no idea, but it was such a goofy story. I'm like, what? So anyway, maybe that's why MSK is being booed. I don't know. I don't care why the fans boo them. They're a fun team. I don't give a shit. But I found that whole thing really crazy, that it all stemmed from what seems to be, you know, sweet and innocent Izzy. Apparently her parents are fucking nuts, or this whole entire situation might not even be true. But BodySlam.net has dropped some pretty big stories this past summer, so I'm inclined to take them at their word. And crazy shit, fun stuff. Oh my God. Also, I want to mention Renee Paquette. She was a guest on the Ariel Helwani show and was talking about various topics, including her time in WWE. And a couple of interesting tidbits came out of this. One of them was that she said she actually asked for her release 5 years ago, but it wasn't granted. Now, 5 years ago was before she was doing the announcing, probably doing a lot of the kickoff stuff, and was more underneath. And she said that she was denied her release, and looking back in retrospect, she's actually really glad that she stayed, because her resume would not look the way it does if she would have left at that time. In WWE, I thought, even at the time, I thought Renee Young was going to be their new Mean Gene. I thought she was going to be there for life. I thought she was going to be a modern-day Howard or a modern-day Mean Gene, and she was going to be the anchor to a lot of these kickoff panels. She was going to be doing any major interview in a ring after somebody wins a title, just like Mean Gene would do back in the day. I thought she was going to be it. I was looking forward to it. I was surprised when they put her on the Raw announce team, because I wasn't even sure if that was something she needed to do, but they wanted to put her there. And of course, like everything in WWE, it doesn't last, and they pulled her off or whatever. But she became a pretty big part of that company up until when she left, you know, and she's been dealing with this no compete now forever. And apparently she's pretty much good to go whenever she wants to work somewhere else now. So the story of the release was interesting, but the funniest part, or maybe not the funniest part, but the most interesting part of the interview was a story that she told about Vince McMahon, I guess when she was doing the commentary, when they were doing something with Tyson Fury. Now, I guess she's talking about, was she doing commentary when Tyson Fury would be in the ring? I thought he was always doing SmackDown stuff. Maybe he did Raw stuff. Anyway, she's on commentary calling something involving Tyson Fury, and Vince McMahon is screaming at her through the headset, yelling at her that she ruined the whole segment because she didn't refer to Tyson Fury as the lineal champion. And Vince fucking lost his mind. And when you hear her tell that story, it's like, God, this guy is just an absolute nightmare. And you know, she went on to say that it's not like he held a grudge, and when she came back through Gorilla at the end of the show, he was all up in her face. He gets over things immediately. I actually used to work for a boss like this that would fucking flip out, and then 5 minutes later, he was over it. where he's still scared shitless everybody that he flipped out on. You know, they're not over it, but he is. And apparently Vince is a lot like that. But just to hear him going so nuts because she doesn't call Tyson Fury the lineal champion, I don't give a fuck. What the fuck does a lineal champion even mean? I don't care. It doesn't mean anything. And if you are willing to do, this is the absurdity of this. If you're willing to do a championship belt swap to where you are completely taking a steaming shit on the title lineage of history of your championships by just swapping them on TV, yet you flip out because Renee Young used an improper terminology for a boxing champion, fuck you, Vince McMahon. You fucking crazy bastard. My God. When you hear stories like that, I just can't understand how anybody can work for this fucking maniac. Couldn't do it. I would knock him out. I swear to God, I would pick up one of them chairs in Gorilla and just fucking put him through the wall. Retire now, Vince. My God. Unreal. So just stories like that. It's like, what a dick. What just a fucking raging fucking dick. Lineal champion. Fuck you. Anywho, I just found that to be another funny story that I wanted to mention so we can all do a collective fuck you, Vince. Let's talk about Bound for Glory real quick, and then we will move on to some wrestling results this week and stuff. But I want to answer any more super chats that are coming in. I do know that there is one. John Gorman, thank you, man, for the $10. I appreciate that. Hey, Greg, hope all is well. Been a crazy week in wrestling, and the Charlotte stuff seems to be never ending. By the way, Bound for Glory reminded us that they are still TNA. The show last night did not get good reviews. I don't watch any of Impact. I just won't, never will. Not into them. But it doesn't mean I don't want them to succeed. I hope they have great shows, and if they start really setting the world on fire, then maybe I'll start watching them. But man, I can't even keep up with NXT. I've already sacrificed NXT, so if I'm not watching NXT, I'm sure as shit not watching Impact. But yeah, Bound for Glory apparently was not wonderful. And we're going to talk about that here in just 1 second. What's up, Nick Musser? That's right. You said earlier on that you were actually at Dynamite last night. That's awesome. I will be going to a Dynamite show as soon as they're out here. I think they do have some West Coast dates announced, but I'm not sure. I got to look at it, but would love to go to a Dynamite whenever they're kind of in my neck of the woods out here. Hopefully Double or Nothing will be in Vegas in May. I will definitely be there, but it would be really cool to get to a Dynamite before then. So fingers crossed that I can go on a Dynamite because I haven't been to a Dynamite show since the Jericho Cruise back in January of 2022. And shout out to all of our friends on the Jericho Cruise. Anybody who's there, actually it might be over now. They might actually be getting back or something now. So the Jericho Cruise is probably wrapped up, but it has been going on the past 3 days. I was very jealous seeing everybody on there, but I think COVID, I would love to go on a Jericho Cruise again. Would like to, maybe try, but COVID made me really not interested in really going on a boat. So next year for sure, Double or Nothing, year after for sure, WrestleMania here in LA, hopefully some shows in between then. And if I can swing it, maybe a Jericho Cruise as well. But yeah, I am ready to go to a full-blown Dynamite, that's for sure. Yeah, Angie, I thought the Iconics would show up in AEW as well. Apparently last night at Bound for Glory did end the partnership and the working agreement between AEW and Impact. Christian lost the title. He's back. And I guess at least right now they don't have any new deals in place. So we will likely not see the Inspiration over in AEW. And we can't see, what does Peyton Royce go by now? Nikki Carmichael or something, whatever her name is. She can't be over there with Shawn Spears. Saw an interesting comment I wanted to respond to, and now I fucking lost it. Oh, bummer. Anywho, all right, well, let's get into, like I said, just real quick, Bound for Glory. Did not watch the show, but there were a lot of hopes that they were going to debut some new talent. One name floating around was formerly Braun Strowman, Adam Shearer. He was in talks with them. I think he even might have met in person with Impact officials. A lot of people were expecting him to be signed and turned up. Last night at Bound for Glory, he did not. Bray Wyatt, there was some thought that maybe he could turn up, but he's still a week or so away from his no-compete finishing up, so he would have to get permission from WWE and all that, but some people thought he could be there. And also, Bronson Reed, who could sign with anybody at this point. A lot of companies are interested in him. There was word that he was signed, and then he didn't debut. So they just dropped the ball on everything there. Apparently, the main event situation was kind of a mess. Christian did lose the title, I believe, clean to Josh Alexander, correct? I think Christian even handed him the belt. Now, I don't know any of these cash-in rules. So Josh Alexander used his option C, whatever the fuck that is, relinquished his X Division title in order to get a title shot. He beats Christian for it. But then, before he can even celebrate, Moose comes out, and he won some gauntlet earlier on in the night that entitled him to basically a cash-in or a call your shot instead of Money in the Bank title match, and cashes it in and wins right there. 2 world title changes at the end of Bound for Glory. Not many fans were too kind in the reviews to this thing and said that TNA or Impact kind of farted the bed, so to speak, on the show. We also saw Mickie James win the Knockouts title. So Mickie James back over there to add another title to her resume, and the Inspiration, whatever their names are, Cassie and Misty and Jennifer, whatever, they are now in Impact, and they won the Impact Tag Team titles. So they went over there and won gold. And the funniest part of the show that I saw, I had to read this twice to make sure I read it correctly. Did they bring in the Kiss Demon? The worst idea of WCW's history and the biggest, most colossal waste of money that they ever did. This is what Impact decides to bring back for like a nostalgia act? Why don't you bring back the Brawl for All while you're at it? Jesus Christ. The Kiss Demon? For real? Dale Torborg? How old is he now? Not young. Shit. So anyway, yeah, I'm glad I don't watch Impact. That just sounds like a fucking mess. Also, last night, I didn't make any notes on this because I really wasn't interested in the episode, but they latest Dark Side of the Ring aired on Vice, and it was an episode on XPW. Now, this was missing Rob Black and Lizzie Borden. They declined to be a part of this, but there was a lot of stories told about the both of them and how crazy Rob Black was. I never really knew much about XPW. I didn't really like hardcore wrestling or anything too crazy, and the one exception I made to that was ECW. I thought ECW was pretty badass. I really enjoyed ECW, for that brand, for those fans, for Paul Heyman. Anybody attempting to recreate that wasn't going to get much attention from me. So I never cared about XPW and never knew a whole lot about it. Didn't care. Didn't have any of their tapes or anything like that. I just have no desire to see really, really gross, out-of-shape people cut themselves up with light tubes. You know, sometimes there's a place for that every now and then, but for a whole promotion to be that way, was just never into it. So what they detailed in the documentary was more about, you know, kind of what a fucked up idiot Rob Black was in that story about the guy's thumb being cut off and all that shit. I just didn't really know any of these players. What was the guy's name? The Messiah, and then the other fucking guy, and then the other fucking guy. One was his uncle or whatever. I don't know any of these people. I don't remember them. I never watched XPW, so I didn't really like the episode. I just didn't even want to watch it, to be honest with you. So unfortunately, I don't have that many things to say about it, not nearly as much as Luna Vachon, and just didn't care for the episode at all. The next one I do believe is the finale on the steroid trial. Now, that one I will be very interested in. Probably just as interested in that one as I was the plane ride from hell. So that'll be the season 3 finale. I believe that's next week. And then we're on to season 4 and start placing your ideas and your bets for who and what topics we could see in season 4. There'll be some good ones. Yeah, and ECW talent started showing up there after ECW folded and stuff, but still, like the ECW magic, you know, it was a very short window there of like 96, 97, 98 magic. It was just so good, you know, but that faded and it can't be recreated, you know? So just never a fan. I think XPW, with my knowledge of them was limited to magazines and internet. That's about it. Never knew much else about it and never watched any other shit. So yeah, I guess I'm just anti-XPW. It just looks it's not my cup of tea. Let's just put it that way. Anywho, we got a lot of wrestling wrestling results to get into, but we're not going to really detail this in, you know, elaborate detail or anything. Kind of run through the last 3 shows. We had Rampage and SmackDown on Friday, and then, of course, Dynamite was last night. So I think we should just briefly run through Rampage and SmackDown from Friday, since there's not a ton to get into there. We'll do SmackDown first because we already discussed the entire situation between Becky Lynch and Charlotte and the belt swapping and the controversy and the heat and everything going on there. So if you are just clicking on this video now and you want to hear all my thoughts on that, I spent about 15 minutes on it in the beginning of the podcast there. We talk all about that situation. But in terms of what else happened on SmackDown, that's what we'll get into here. Now, SmackDown did pretty good numbers this week on Friday night back on Fox. 2.10 million viewers, and their encore, which aired last night head-to-head with Dynamite, you sneaky bastards, drew 578,000 viewers. I have not seen the Dynamite numbers. It'll be interesting to see how SmackDown cut into that. I don't think the encore of SmackDown is going to beat Dynamite, but it might have hurt their viewership a little bit. So again, they're not competition. Go fuck yourself. Yes, they are. The show opened up with Roman Reigns calling out Brock Lesnar. Now, Brock Lesnar, right after Crown Jewel, tweeted out that as soon as he gets to SmackDown, he's going to beat the shit out of Roman Reigns. I don't know why he didn't do it on the plane. He could have just done it a baggage claim or a customs. He wanted to wait until SmackDown. Brock comes out. He's got Heyman with him. He's talking about how he smashed Brock and there's no one left to smash. No one wants this. I smashed everybody. And would go on to even call out Brock. Brock, I know you're here. Come on out here and fight me, basically. So Brock does. Brock comes out, gets right in the ring, starts brawling with Roman, just fucks him up. Immediately starts kicking Roman's ass, clotheslines him over the top rope, posts him, throwing him all around the ring. He's about to F5 Roman Reigns onto the table when a bunch of referees and the Usos show up. But if you notice, the Usos crawled out from underneath the ring, which meant they were under there the whole time, ready to sabotage Brock. But why did they let Brock beat Roman's ass for 3 minutes before climbing out of from under the ring? That was just weird to me, the way the refs were running out, and then Usos came out as well. But Brock destroyed everybody, tossed the referees around, fucked up both the Usos, threw poor Daivari over the announce table. He's just going nuts. He's tearing up the announce table, crushing Roman, murdering the Usos, killing referees. Adam Pearce starts bringing out more locker room guys. Boogs is out there and Cesaro. And as soon as Brock comes face to face with Cesaro, he backs off and he gets in the ring. And that's when Adam Pearce says that Brock Lesnar is suspended indefinitely. I think they actually went to commercial and came back, and Pearce said this. So Pearce says that Brock, due to his actions, he has no choice but to suspend Brock indefinitely. And that's when Brock comes back, although he's a lot less intense this time. He just walks slowly and methodically to the ring, gets in the ring, and asks Adam Pearce to repeat himself. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. What'd you say? Brock, I had no choice. You're suspended indefinitely. He grabs him by his jacket, and then he just fucks him up, hits him with 2 F5s, and wipes out Adam Pearce in response to his indefinite suspension. So not a cool move by Brock at the next handsome bald guy meeting. I'm going to bring this up, and what he did to Adam Pearce was not cool, and Brock will pay. He's gonna have hell to pay for that. We don't take kindly to violence on our own. So yeah, Brock, watch your back, man. But at least for right now, he's suspended probably through the rest of the year. If you think about it, Brock's got no reason to be on TV. So if they want to hold off and do what will now, obviously, but with Brock's actions here, they are going to hold off another confrontation between Roman and Brock. And you can do that now that Brock is suspended. Just bring him back around the Royal Rumble time or something like that. Maybe he wins the Rumble, maybe he doesn't. But if you do Brock and Roman at Mania again, that could be where you do a Paul Heyman turn or something. I don't know. But at this point, I'm cool with Roman holding the belt until the next Summer Olympics. Totally fine with me. What did you guys think of Sami Zayn's new theme music? He debuted some new music last night against Drew McIntyre. It started out with his old theme, but then kind of did like the record screeching thing and went into a new kind of jam. It's not as good as his old theme, but it probably suits him better based on this conspiracy theory gimmick that he has, right? So the new theme is probably better off for Sami. We'll probably get used to it. Pretty good match between the two, and just a hell of a Claymore sell by Sami Zayn. He just eats a Claymore, and the way he just kind of sat there like that I got a kick out of. And Drew, of course, beat Sami Zayn. We had Baron Corbin, or Happy Corbin. I think this was one of those stupid-ass championship contenders matches, I think. He wound up getting a victory over Intercontinental Champion Shinsuke Nakamura. Lots of Rick Boogs and Madcap Moss shit on the outside. I loved the King Woods coronation. Kofi and Xavier Woods in the ring to crown Xavier officially as the King of the Ring, and I just all kinds of loved this. Now, I had talked a little bit prior to the King of the Ring about Woods' involvement, and I did express my feelings about how I wasn't totally sure if I could just put all my eggs in one basket and cheer for Xavier Woods when... Is that really the best way to win an accomplishment in pro wrestling, is to politic for 2 years for it? To where basically he's like, I want to be King of the Ring, I want to be King of the Ring, I want to be King of the Ring. And they're like, okay, here you are, here you're King of the Ring. I suppose that I can understand fans that have that view of it. In a way, I can even maybe agree with it a little bit, but that was all gone after Crown Jewel and after SmackDown on Friday night, because I think the King of the Ring gimmick itself is really fucking dumb anyway. I just don't understand with the crown and the scepter. Even if I won that, I would be stone cold. I wouldn't even look at it, much less put it on. So I always thought it was just a little bit weird, and it's something that I've never cared about. And in some of the kings we've had in recent years, like with Corbin, they're just annoying and just fucking awful. And the King of the Ring is more a joke than anything else. So does it really matter who they give it to? And if they're going to give it to Xavier Woods, I think the one thing that made me change my mind on this was the interview or the comments that he gave right after he won the crown. I think it was backstage at Crown Jewel, where he talked about the King of the Ring, what it meant to him, why he wanted to win the crown, and why it was so important to him. And I'm like, right there, that's what wrestling's about. That is what wrestling is about. And any concerns and any thoughts I had about, oh, maybe they shouldn't have given it to him since he just asked for it, went all out the window. So happy for Xavier Woods. I think this crown is on the perfect person. And if you are going to have something like the King of the Ring, wouldn't you want it on somebody that is going to treat it like it's a super, super serious thing? You know, and Xavier Woods seems to be all in on this. This coronation tonight was fucking great with the crown and Kofi there being so supportive as the brother that he is. There was some talk when we did the review that maybe this could lead to a turn or something like that. I'm over it. To me, the New Day staying together is the Undertaker streak. Do not break them up. I worry that Vince still will, but I think there's no reason to. Fans don't want to see it. I think they should go down as the only team, the only faction, the only group ever to never split up and have matches with each other. They are going to live, breathe, and die a brotherhood, and that's exactly the way it should be. I need something sentimental. Those assholes already took away the Undertaker's streak from me. This is probably the next closest thing that we have in terms of something just being a constant. And I think when we look back 20 years from now, you'll remember the New Day is a very huge part of whatever particular weird-ass era that we're in right now. And I don't want to see that happen. So to see Kofi there, so supportive, crowning him. I love when they do the cape thing, when he flaps the cape. That's great shit. Put a huge goddamn smile on my face. And now any sort of thoughts or hesitation I had in terms of Woods winning the crown is gone, and I'm so fucking happy for him, and I enjoyed every second of that little coronation there. That was good stuff. I knew they were going to run back Mansoor and Ali again. Do you even need to, after Crown Jewel? But they did. Mansoor beat him again, and we also had the debut of Hit Row. So Hit Row is now on SmackDown, and they took out a couple of jobbers. Now, earlier on in the day, prior to SmackDown, PW Insider was reporting that WWE's plans for Hit Row include moving Top Dollar to singles and putting Swerve and Ashante or whatever as a tag team. And I'm like, oh, fuck, they haven't even debuted yet, and they're already dissecting them. But this was, I believe it was Swerve and Top Dollar on Friday in the team. So Top Dollar was actually in the ring here. We'll see if they go with these plans or not, but they're now on the show doing much of what they did in NXT on SmackDown. Hopefully they can remain kind of a big deal, but I don't know. Something just tells me it's not going to last. I mean, if Sanity didn't last, how's this going to last? I just don't think it's going to be good. And then after that, of course, we had the championship belt swap, which we chronicled and detailed in its entirety earlier on at the beginning of the podcast when we had to open up with Becky and Charlotte. How could we not talk about that? Now we can scroll back a little bit. Actually, no, let's just real quick talk about NXT and Monday Night Raw. Like I said, tomorrow night's Monday Night Raw has AJ and Omos challenging RK Bro for the Raw tag team titles. That's the only thing I have written down for Monday's Raw tomorrow. Tomorrow's New Era Monday Night Raw. Wow, they're just so new. They're just new eraing all up in here, aren't they? Same match we've been getting forever. So we'll see what else they do. We probably will see Becky Lynch tomorrow and Bianca and anybody else they fucking drafted to Raw. We'll see. But I'm not thinking Raw is going to be really that great tomorrow night. And then, of course, on Tuesday, we've got Halloween Havoc. We've got MSK defending the tags against the Imperium and Tommaso Ciampa defending the NXT title against Braun Breaker. And what do you think? Is this it? Did they just fast-track Braun right to the belt? Might as well. You got a whole new look NXT. He's brand new. Debut him. Just fuck it. I say put the belt on him. He's too entertaining not to. So I kind of hope that he wins. But then again, I've only seen very limited amounts of Braun Breaker. But everything I've seen so far has been great, aside from that ridiculous fucking name he has. But anyway, that'll be Tuesday. Let's backtrack a little bit. Like I said, AEW had some back-to-back shows over the weekend, Friday and Saturday. Friday's Rampage was taped last week on Dynamite, I believe, last Saturday. And I think I said Wednesday earlier on. I meant last Saturday. Not much to say about Rampage now because it is obsolete, but we did have Orange Cassidy defeating Powerhouse Hobbs, Britt Baker defeating Anna Jay, which did lead to a Baker-Ty Conti title match now set for Full Gear, and in an unbelievable match between Andrade and Pac. That shit was so good. Watched it twice. Pac wound up winning with a roll-up, and that's when Malachi Black showed up. So immediately when the ref's hand went down for 3, boom, lights out immediately. You had no idea who was going to come on or who was going to be there when the lights came back on, because normally when the lights go out on AEW, great things don't happen when the lights come back on. So I'm like, fuck, is it going to be Cody or something? But no, lights come back and it's Malachi Black. Super weird. Standing there, even the fans were like, whoa. And now it's Pac in the ring, and he's got Andrade and Malachi, two guys in WWE that, you know, share a common woman in Zelina Vega. She was the manager of Andrade and the wife of Malachi Black, and they've got some history dating back from WWE. They appear to form a little bit of an alliance here, and I think Pac takes some green mist to the face, and they start kicking his ass, and that's when Arn Anderson comes out to the stage, and he does the whole gun thing, the armed Anderson, and Cody slithers in from behind, attacks Malachi Black, and I think the kind of the show went off the air there. So that was Cody and Malachi setting up their big Dynamite match that took place last night. And they also unveiled the TBS Women's Title Bracket Tournament, which was interesting. I want to pull this up here. The only image I have of this is really blurry, so I'm not going to put it on the screen because I like my shit to be 4K, you know what I mean? But I at least want to read through some of these buys. So 4 women got buys right into the second round. And the first round consists of 4 matchups. Anna Jay taking on Jamie Hayter. The Bunny taking on Red Velvet. Serena Deeb and Hikaru Shida. I like it. That's where that's going to be where Shida gets that win back. It gave Deeb the big win, spoiling the 50th victory for Shida. But now Shida gets her victory back and gets to advance in the tournament. That's such a great way to book things. I'm glad that they're going to have their rematch. And Penelope Ford and Ruby Soho, which did take place on Dynamite last night, and Ruby advanced. In the second round, these 4 women have buys. Thunder Rosa, Jade Cargill, Nyla Rose, and Chris Statlander. So Chris Statlander at the bottom of the bracket will take on Ruby Soho. Serena, the winner of Serena and Shida, will take on Nyla Rose. The winner of Bunny and Red Velvet will take on Jade Cargill. And the winner of Anna Jay and Jamie Hayter will take on Thunder Rosa. So Thunder Rosa and Cargill could actually meet in the semifinals. Based on the field here, who do y'all have in the finals of this thing, much less winning it? Part of me thinks that they really want to build Jade Cargill as someone huge, but man, she's got so much work to do. Greener than turtle shit. I don't know if I'm putting championship gold around her waist yet, even though the championship belt would look great around Jade's waist. She still needs some work. That's just my personal opinion. So I don't know. Thunder Rosa would be fun. But then again, I've looked at all of them as world title contenders. And even in a lot of ways, Jade Cargill, because I think she is being built up as to be somebody that big. And Thunder Rosa, I think, should also, one day have another battle with Britt. So, I might put the belt on someone like Statlander, Nyla. Well, maybe not Nyla. She's already held the women's title. I'd go Statlander, Serena Deeb. I'd have Serena Deeb upset Hikaru Shida again and go all the way to the finals. I'd love to see Serena do that, but I have a feeling she'll probably go down in the opening round. Anna Jay would be fun. I don't know. I don't even know who I want. I don't know who I prefer more out of anybody else. I'd probably go with Statlander or Ruby in terms of somebody I would really like to see win it, because Statlander's gotten so much better. She's improved so much. And Ruby, you just love to see her doing well there. So some of these other women have had tastes of gold already. So with Thunder Rosa in the NWA, and Nyla Rose was champion. So yeah, maybe Ruby and Chris based on the field. But give me your votes. Who do y'all want to see win this thing? Zayn G, appreciate that buck, man. Oh, Booker T was phenomenal as a king. He was one of the guys that made it fun because he was doing it as a joke, and the pinky and the booker. Love that stuff. Queen Charmel. That was fun. I kind of like when you take it so far like that and you're just over the top with it. Fuck it. Have some fun. That's what wrestling's about. It's about fun. If you're not having fun in wrestling, you ain't doing something right. Yeah, Killer Cam, thank you for reminding me about my wonderful Detroit Lions. There's still time for them to run the table and go 9-7, make the playoffs, win the wild card, win the NFC Championship game, and win the Super Bowl. So it is not over yet. Lions to win the Super Bowl. You heard it here first. I swear, if I went to Vegas right now and put $1 on the Lions to win the Super Bowl, and they did, I'd probably be a millionaire. Serena Deeb is a heel, or Chris Statlander. Oh, yeah, because Serena is kind of a heel now. Her and Shida even got a little altercation last week, right, backstage? Yeah, so Deeb would be fun to see her beat Shida again, but I think that's where Shida's going to get her win back. But Deeb would be right up there because she has just had some great matches. She's such a stud. Fucking love her. So I could go, I think, Serena, Chris, or Ruby would be where my heart is. Everybody else, whatever. I'd like to see Thunder Rosa win, but Thunder Rosa is so good. This isn't something that she really necessarily needs. So that's why, if she wins it, I'll be fine. I don't care. But I think it could benefit another one of those women a little bit more than Thunder Rosa because she's a made woman already at this point. So mixed partial farts. The Lions are winning the 10-7. Oh, there's an extra game. Yeah, see, 10-7. So that's even better. Yeah. Mixed partial farts. Sorry, man, you just don't know what you're talking about. You watch. They're gonna win every game now. 10-7. I'm with Trey. Winning the Super Bowl. Wouldn't that be some shit? And then I'd be up here being like, told y'all. Anywho, what else we have to talk about? Shit, I got to get out of here soon. Dynamite, that's right. There was a wrestling show last night. Damn good one, too. AEW Dynamite Saturday night show. They were in Orlando. At first, I thought this was at the same place where the Thunderdome was, but it's not. They were, I forget the name of the building, the UCF college or whatever. So they were in Orlando last night for Dynamite, and it was a really good show. Like I said, the Rhodes brothers bookended a great-ass show here and two really good matches to open and close the show. So we opened up with a first-round eliminator tournament match between Bryan Danielson and Dustin Rhodes. Danielson, has he wrestled on every show since he's been on AEW? Or every Dynamite, I should say. He's in the ring a lot. A lot. And seeing these guys here, help me out, fans or people in the chat, I'm certain, because my recent modern WWE history in my head is all jumbled. I don't have a very good memory. Daniel Bryan and Dustin certainly crossed paths in WWE, right? During the Team Hell No and Rhodes Brothers days. Feels like there was some matches there, probably even a title switch. So it's cool to see them kind of back at it here. And Dustin Rhodes continues to be timeless, in his 50s, out there working like he's in his 20s. Just very cool to every time that Jim Ross calls a every time Jim Ross calls a Dustin Rhodes match on a Turner station, I get fucking goosebumps, man. And assuming that JR still does a little bit of announcing when Dynamite moves to TBS, it's even going to be crazier when JR calls a Dustin Rhodes match on TBS in 2022. It's going to happen. You watch, and that's going to be nuts. First time that happened was probably late 80s when JR, or super duper early 90s, when JR called a Rhodes match on TBS. Fucking crazy. In the end, though, you know Danielson is going to advance here. He chokes out Dustin with the guillotine. Love that Danielson is using multiple finishers. He's done the knees. He's done the cattle mutilation. He's done the label lock. Now the guillotine. Bryan Danielson making a case for Wrestler of the Year in the last 2 months. Unbelievable. And don't forget, he was in the main event of WrestleMania this year. The Sting promo was pretty good. Of course, Darby Allin is headed for a showdown against MJF at Full Gear, and he hasn't been on TV because he's not cleared or whatnot. MJF has been calling him out and being very busy. I apologize for last week forgetting that MJF is in a faction called The Pinnacle. When I saw him making the deal with Andrade for FTR, I'm like, what the hell is MJF doing there? And you guys in the chat were like, Greg, it's The Pinnacle. And I'm like, oh yeah, forgot. So anyway, Sting is out there cutting a promo with Tony Schiavone. He doesn't want to shed too much light on the status of Darby Allin and not show his hand. MJF comes out. He starts talking smack on the mic. Sting is attacked by the Pinnacle. Everybody kicks his ass. They whip his ass, and then MJF talks directly into the camera, directing his comments at Darby Allin. So this just intensifies the feud, and we got a couple of more weeks. Full Gear is not until the 13th, so we are 3 weeks away. 2 weeks away. No, 3 weeks away from that show happening, so a lot can go down. Hopefully, maybe this Wednesday, we see the return of Darby Allin to get some revenge. Like I said earlier, we also had the first round of the TBS Women's Title Tournament kicking off with Ruby Soho defeating Penelope Ford. We had Bobby Fish defeating Anthony Green. Cool to see Green on AEW again. He's been on there a couple times, I think, since being released from NXT. And after Bobby Fish defeats him, he continues the attack on Anthony Green, continues working him over until CM Punk comes running down the aisle to make the save and to back off Bobby Fish, and that match is official, I believe, for Wednesday. Bobby Fish versus CM Punk one-on-one. And a couple of things I liked about this, number one was that when CM Punk came out there, you know, he was kind of wearing a hat. He didn't run straight down the aisle. I think he even ran like down the side of the aisle. And they didn't play his music. And I've been bitching about theme music during run-ins for years now. It all really started with Stone Cold Steve Austin. I don't recall theme music playing for any run-ins ever prior to Austin. The only one I can think of, and there might be more, is WrestleMania 8 with The Ultimate Warrior, when he ran in the main event. But aside from that, it's not something that's done very much. And the thing I hate the most about it is that it doesn't make any sense because it's supposed to be spontaneous and it's supposed to be unplanned. One of your friends is getting their ass kicked in the ring, so you're going to run out to save them. You're not going to go run up the stairs to Gorilla, stand at the Gorilla, and wait for production to hit your music and then go. You're going to run out there right away to save your friend, you know? And so when Punk did that, I'm like, oh, it's so nice just to see that be a little bit more realistic. There are certain times, like with Stone Cold, where it all started, that playing the theme music is necessary. We can all remember when when Mankind beat The Rock for the title on Raw in '99. Austin came out, hit Rock with a chair, probably one of the biggest pops of all time. Okay, fine. Sometimes you can do it. But I would say 99% of the time it is completely fucking unnecessary and stupid and doesn't make any sense to play theme music when people make run-ins. It's fucking dumb. And I'm glad to see that AEW is not doing it because WWE is the worst at it. Oh my God, every fucking time they have to play the theme music. Why are they so obsessed with playing the theme music every time? It's so goddamn unrealistic. So I loved that. But also what I found funny about that segment is that CM Punk ran out there to save Anthony Green, but not Sting, not senior citizen Sting being worked over by a bunch of guys in the previous segment. That's cool. Sting's fine. I'll just go help what's-his-face. I kind of found that to be a little funny, why Punk chose Green and not Sting, but whatever. It is what it is. And at least they didn't play his music. Another first-round eliminator match was up next. Scary match. Real scary match. Lance Archer versus Eddie Kingston. You knew these guys were just going to beat the shit out of each other, which they did. But midway through the match, Archer has got Kingston down. Lance goes up for the top rope moonsault. and he just doesn't rotate enough. And he falls and he lands basically right on his head and neck. And he like kind of he lands like on the top of his head. And it kind of jolts him back a little bit and stuns him. I think he rolls out of the ring, and the match kind of halted for a minute there while the medical team checked on him. And it kind of looked like they had to go home early on that one. I don't think they called an audible with the finish, but Eddie Kingston was able to roll him up shortly after that and got the win. So I don't know if maybe he was supposed to win in advance and, instead they went with Eddie, or if they just went to the finish quicker. I'm likely to believe they just went to the finish quicker, and Eddie, was going to win in advance all along. But went home a bit early there. Scary bump. After the match, Archer took to Twitter to assure everybody he's fine. He said he's okay. He'll live. Thank God. Very lucky. And also said it was just a simple mistake. Didn't rotate enough on the moonsault. Then landed on his head. It happens. He'll be more careful next time, that sort of thing. So, hopefully there's no lasting effects there. He might feel fine, and he might be able to tweet out that he's fine, but until he's really evaluated by a medical staff, you don't know. So hopefully everything's fine there. He ain't young. He ain't no spring chicken. I think he's about my age. If I'm doing a moonsault from the top rope and land on the back of my head or on the top of my head, you might not hear from me for a couple days. So best of luck to Archer. Glad he's alive and walking around. That's for sure. Good to see a little more vicious side of Jungle Boy. He made quick work of Brandon Cutler, snare trapping him for the win. Continued to fuck up Cutler after the match. Gets on the mic. We don't hear Jungle Boy talk very often, and we certainly don't hear Jungle Boy speak with any intensity. But, of course, he wants the Elite. He goes, well, that didn't take very long to beat this fucker, so I kind of feel like I can go again. So he calls out any member of the Elite to come out and face him. And that's when Adam Cole comes out. And Adam Cole gets on the mic, and Jungle Boy reapplies the snare trap on Brandon Cutler, trying to entice Cole in the ring. And Cole says, okay. He gets on the mic and he agrees to face him, but before he can get up and get into the ring to fight him, he gets on the apron. Jungle Boy pushes him off, and then, of course, he's attacked from behind by the Young Bucks. We get Jungle Boy dragged up to the top of the stage. We get a BTE trigger. We get a boom, and then they take poor Jungle and throw him right off the stage through a table, which looked a hell of a lot better than the crash pad that Bobby Lashley and Goldberg flew through at Crown Jewel. Good looking spot there. Jungle took a hell of a bump, and Young Bucks changed their Twitter bio saying that Jungle Boy was doing an impression of CM Punk stage diving on Dynamite or something like that. Funny shit. So I enjoyed that stuff. And then I got to say, we had an absolutely phenomenal main event. Now, we've been talking about Cody lately on the podcast, and I don't dislike Cody. I like Cody a lot, but I do not care much for what he's doing in wrestling right now in terms of his promos and shit like that. I feel a heel turn coming. The Arn Anderson stuff is really interesting, but when Malachi Black came in and beat Cody and then beat Cody again, I was very worried that, Cody would do here what he did to Brody Lee. I just don't want to see him just win. I want to see Black be able to, carry through this or whatever. So basically my hope going into last night's show was that if Cody beats Malachi Black, that they do it in a way that I don't hate. And guess what? They did. Didn't hate this at all. Thought it was good stuff. Thought it was a great match. Cody reminded me of why I liked him to begin with last night. And I was really fearful that this match would give me the opposite feeling, but it didn't. It was really good, and it was bloody, and it was intense. Both these guys got busted up. There was a great crossroads spot from the apron through the table onto the floor. The only thing that looked a little odd about it is that Cody took 90% of the bump. I mean, he basically landed back first into the table in order to hit the move on Malachi, but he sacrificed himself. But both men had bloody foreheads after that. We had all sorts of extracurricular activity as well, which is why I'm kind of okay with Cody picking up the win here, because they didn't overbook it, and they made it. They kept everything to a point where you gave Cody the win, you didn't bury Malachi while not having to overbook it at the same time. It all was really well executed, in my opinion. Maybe you don't think so. I do. I thought the match was really well structured and put together. It was great. So after the crossroads through the table. You've got Arn getting in the ring for some reason. Arn is in the ring all by himself while Cody and Malachi are kind of recovering on the outside. And that's when Andrade appears. Now, we saw Black appear on Rampage and Andrade's match. Andrade comes down now to the stage. He's wearing a suit, and he does the little gun thing to Arn Anderson. So Arn Anderson then hits a spine buster on Andrade's assistant Jose, who tries to attack Arn. Arn spine busters him, but then turns around and eats or drinks or gets some mist, black mist from Black, right into the face. And that's when Pac then shows up in the apron to fight off Andrade, so they kind of cancel each other out. And then we get Cody and Malachi Black in the ring. We get a crossroads to Black. He kicks out and then recovers to get Cody down, hits him with just an enormous coup de grace, jumps so high up in the air, double stomp, knee strike, and then folds Cody up for a German suplex, and the motherfucker kicks out. Wow, I didn't even hate that. It looked so good. And then in the end, after Cody gets the coup de grace, knee strike, and German, he starts stumbling up, and then boom, he just eats a Black Mass right to the face, but he falls kind of out of bounds. He falls in the ropes, and he's just kind of laying in there, so he's not like in the dead center of the ring for Malachi to get the pin on him. Cody is then able to recover from all of this, and he hits a pretty good-looking Cody cutter onto Malachi, then hits him with a crossroads, then picks him up, boom, Tiger Driver 98 for the win, beats Malachi Black. And you know what? If you're going to have Cody beat him, this was probably the best case scenario for doing so. If there's any fan, and I know wrestling fans well enough to know there were damn sure plenty of these people out there who probably claimed that Malachi Black got buried. Let me tell you, from somebody who's the biggest Malachi Black fan in the world, did not want Cody to beat him and wanted nothing to do with the Cody Rhodes victory and wanted everything to do with a Malachi Black victory. Even I can say that a burial is not what took place here. You want to know what took place? A fucking professional wrestling match with a winner and a loser. That's what happens. It's not a burial. And it ain't rocket surgery either. So stop being an idiot. Anyway, that was a good show. I thought Cody and Dustin, one took a win, one took a loss. They sandwiched what was a really good and fun Dynamite, even though it was on an off night. On a Saturday night, they still give you good quality programming. I can remember back in the day when WWE would get their programming bumped for the U.S. Open, for the Dog Show, anything like that. If you had a Raw on a Thursday, a Raw on a Saturday, or a Raw on any sort of different or abnormal time or station, sometimes they would move it to Sci-Fi or whatever, they would always phone in the episodes because they knew their viewership was not going to be as great, so they don't have to work as hard. That's literally what their philosophy was. You're not seeing that here. The Dynamite that I saw last night, I feel like we could have easily seen on any given Wednesday. And I'm glad that when they do have to do things like move networks or get bumped on a different night, knowing their viewership is going to take a hit, they still deliver a good program because they know the fans can watch it on the internet, on the replay, on the DVR or whatever. You know, it's worth it to them to not phone these shows in. And WWE just did that all the time, you know, whenever, even like an overseas show. Finally, they got their act together when AJ won the title over there. But when they would go to, London or whatever, a lot of those Raws, they were a packed house and fun and everything, but at the end of the day, nothing too crazy really happened on them. And I always thought that was just weak and lazy, and fans deserve better. And it's nice to see that when AEW gets moved around or their shit gets messed up a little bit, they still just go balls to the wall. That's good. We, the fans, benefit with philosophies like that. So next week, Dynamite's card is pretty much set. It's another thing I like about AEW. They let you know what you're going to see next week. We've got CM Punk taking on Bobby Fish, the Dark Order versus the Elite, Sammy Guevara defending the TNT title against Ethan Page, Hikaru Shida against Serena Deeb in the opening round TBS Women's Title Tournament. Jon Moxley against 10 in the Eliminator Tournament opening round as well. Rampage, the only thing I have written down for Rampage that I've seen, there's probably more, but the only match I've seen advertised is the Sydal brothers against Lio Rush and Dante Martin. So AEW looks pretty stacked next week. It should be good, and I'm really ready to get back to Wednesday Night Dynamites. Make sure you're here this Wednesday. We do watch-alongs every Wednesday, so we'll be back here right before Dynamite goes live on Wednesday to watch the whole thing, so make sure you subscribe and make sure you're here. In terms of Full Gear, here's what we've got. I only have 4 matches. If there's other matches floating around or if there are rumored matches, hit me with it in the chat. Kenny Omega defending the AEW World title against Hangman Page. Darby Allin taking on MJF. Britt Baker to defend the women's title against Ty Conti. And a 10-man tag with the Inner Circle taking on Men of the Year and American Top Team. So that's 4. We'll probably get, 4 more matches at least added to this card. And Full Gear coming up in 3 weeks. I'm ready for that one. That is a Saturday show. I believe it's Saturday, November 13th. I got to make arrangements with work to tell them that I will not work that day. I'll be here watching a pay-per-view with you guys. So that pretty much wraps up my notes. I think I got everything out of the way that I wanted to discuss. And now I will knock out super chats over here and see if you guys have any other questions. And then I am going to get up on out of here and enjoy my Sunday evening off. Hope you guys do the same. Monique, thank you for that $10. Let me just cruise up and make sure there wasn't anyone that I missed before you. John Gorman, I got you. Really don't want to miss anybody else. Chris, I got you. Okay, I think we're all good. Thank you very much for that $10, Monique. I appreciate it. Full Gear taking place. I knew that date sounded familiar. I just got done saying November 13th. I'm like, why is that sticking out? I know why now. Full Gear taking place on November 13th on the 16-year death anniversary of Eddie Guerrero in Minneapolis. Oh, the same city Eddie passed away in. I hope they do something in his memory. Did Eddie pass away in Minneapolis? I thought Guerrero did. Or I'm sorry, I thought Pillman did. Pillman was in St. Paul. Did Eddie really pass away in Minneapolis? Might have been. Holy shit, and that's where Full Gear is, huh? Well, I would imagine that AEW will probably do something. Man, Chavo's going to be there. I mean, he was the one that found Eddie, you know? Rough. I think it would be really cool if they did something before the show, you know, or maybe if Chavo came out, or maybe even after the show, but maybe before the show would be cool. You know, maybe Chavo in the ring and they commemorate Eddie with something or whatever. Might be kind of cool. Bald guy meeting. Do we like Nike or Adidas? Right now, we like Nike. I got 1 pair of Nikes. I got like 3 pairs of Vans and some Skechers for work. That's it. And some flip-flops. That's all I got. No, I did not watch the G1. I am so sorry. I actually had that in my notes. It's written right here. It says, talk about G1 if you watch anything, but I didn't. Really, you know, it's so funny too. I've kind of like lost, I still am a subscriber to New Japan World, but I've been seeing so many complaints about, like the copyright bullshit and stuff, and the content creators are just dealing with all sorts of nonsense from New Japan. I don't really want to talk about them. Like, I don't want to put New Japan in any of my video titles or anything like that, because apparently they come after you for stupid shit. So just when I hear stuff like that, I'm like, that just is gross to me. I don't want anything to happen there. I've just kind of lost the love of really following it too much. But yeah, I'm kind of out of the loop with the G1 as well. I'm not sure what that's referring to. That's so gross they were kids. I know, that's what I said about Punk earlier. I'm like, he came out, and Anthony Green's not a total jobber. He's very good, but it's like Punk came out and saved him right at the very next segment after Sting got his fucking ass kicked in there. I'm like, God, what about the old man? Fuck. I don't want to have Sting have a broken jaw. He's got to be able to eat his applesauce and drink his coffee. Fuck. Go out there and help him out. Bring a bat with you. Oh, Shibata came back. I did see that. So I've seen little tidbits of G1. I have. That is cool. What happened to him was just absolutely awful. Yeah, Victor, there you go. Chavo and Vicky. Vicky's there too, obviously. Chavo and Vicky could be in the ring doing something to pay respect for Eddie Guerrero. They did when I was on the Jericho cruise last year, they did a Talk is Jericho with with Vicky and Chavo and I think Eddie's daughter. And they just kind of talked Eddie stories and stuff. They did it right there outside near the pool area. It's fucking awesome. So yeah, that would be cool since it is on the same day and it's in the same town. I had no idea it was Minneapolis where he passed away. I had no idea. No idea. Ben Espinoza predicting the Atlanta Braves winning the World Series in 6 games. What do we got? Atlanta and Houston. I don't give a fuck who wins that for 500, Alex. Oh my God. When I was a kid, not even a kid, like a teenager, It was when the Braves were having their run, like their 90, 91, 92-ish. Those years somewhere in there when it was like Tom Glavine and fucking Greg Maddux and was the other pitcher. They just had crazy pitching staff. John Smoltz and the hitters. They had David Justice and Fred McGriff, and they were fucking crazy. And I lived in North Carolina at the time, which granted is close to Georgia. But man, every kid that I knew completely bandwagon jumped on the Braves. We are closer to Baltimore than we were to Georgia. Nobody gave a fuck about the Orioles. It was all the Braves. They liked doing the tomahawk chop thing. They liked doing the chant that they would do at all the games. People were doing, our mascot was not, was an animal. It had nothing to do with anything, but yet our games, they were doing the tomahawk chop chant at our games and shit, all for the Braves. Kids were getting so passionate. All the kids that I lived in my neighborhood, we all watched sports together. We all played sports together. Every fucking one of them acting like they were Atlanta Braves fans since birth. I'm like, I've never heard any one of you shitheads mention the Braves before 2 years ago. Now you're all fans all of a sudden. It drove me crazy to where they made me hate the Braves. And during those days, the Braves were in the World Series against the Blue Jays. And as a matter of fact, I think they lost a couple times. They lost to the Blue Jays, and then prior to that, I think they lost before getting to the World Series. And then, of course, for a while there, they were the Yankees' own personal bitches in the World Series for a couple of years as well. But those early 90s days drove me nuts because every kid that I knew was crazy about the Braves. And I remember being in school one day and this little fucking redneck, and I was joking how I was rooting for the Braves. And he's like, hey, Greg, you know you root against the Braves. You're rooting against your country. You know that, right? I was like, my country? Yeah, your country. I'm like, well, the Blue Jays are in the American League, so... And just to watch his face. Well, and as a matter of fact, I was born in Detroit, which isn't really far away. It's just right across the river. I can touch Canada with my hand from where I was born. So it's not really that much against my country. You know, you're against your country, right? I'm like, yeah, we're going to root for the Braves because of fucking patriotism. Give me a break. And I was like, and by the way, every player on the Toronto Blue Jays is American. So what the fuck? Just ridiculous shit. These kids just being stupid. You know, when you're 12, what the fuck argument do you have? Other than dumb ones. So I remember like the kid just telling me that I was a disgrace to my country because I was rooting for the Toronto Blue Jays over the Atlanta Braves and I was not American. It feels like it'd be a theme in my life. But anyway, fun time. So because of that, I kind of am anti-Braves, but I have no reason to be. They're a fun team. Just I associate Braves with little annoying redneck kids that I went to high school with and Bobby Cox and that sort of thing. You know, where now they're probably a super fucking great and talented team. I just don't care about them. And I don't care much about the Astros either. Cheating motherfuckers, banging on trash cans. Both these teams can just fuck off. I hope it's a tie. I hope it's a tie and they have and they're both co-champions. Like WWE did with Jericho and China. Do that with the Astros and the Braves. Co-champions, motherfuckers. See how that goes over. Oh, yeah, and the Cowboys, too. Conor McGregor, you are right. The Braves and the Cowboys, and it was even worse for me because where I lived near East Carolina University, a couple of ECU players, the year that ECU went to the Peach Bowl and won a hell of a game against NC State at the buzzer, and they went like 11-1 on the season. We were ranked 8th. I used to sell sodas at the East Carolina baseball games. That was like my or football games. When I was like 13 and 14, I'd carry big trays of soda and sell them. And that was a great job for me. It made me a lot of money as a young kid and shit. So I would go to those games and I watched that whole season play out when they had, you know, the best season ever. And when that team won the Peach Bowl, a couple of players got drafted to the Cowboys. One of them was Robert Jones, and then there was another one as well. And back then, those were during the years of Jeff Blake at ECU. I got a chance to meet Jeff Blake. I went in the ECU locker room on the final game of the season as a 14-year-old kid and saw a lot of naked black men. The rumors are true. The rumors are true. It was quite the experience for me as a kid because I knew people that were involved in ECU and in the college and stuff, and I was able to get back there and do shit. It was fucking crazy, but a couple of the players went to Dallas to play there, so that gave a lot of the kids around me a fake reason to cheer for the Cowboys because a couple of ECU players made the team and are going to sit on the bench. So Cowboys are my favorite team now. And of course it was America's team because I had a hole in the ceiling for God to look through. Only in Texas can this type of shit be believed. So yeah, I was very annoyed with the Cowboys and the Braves, and I don't really want any of them to be winning any championships. You know what I mean? Oh, I can fix this. Sorry, guys. Let me just fix this here. Custom. Duration. 50 days. There we go. That's all right. That one dumb troll, he's done. I've set the settings to where he can't do much. Not worried about him. But yeah, knowing him, he's probably a Cowboy and Braves fan. We know he's a loser fan. You wouldn't put Trump in your name unless you're a huge fucking loser. You know, I have a Joe Biden shaped dildo that your mom sucks every night. Oh, she's so good at it too. You should see how wet she gets it. It is the best. I don't know Conor McGregor fans, but who cares? He didn't mess nothing up. We're done with the podcast anyway, so he can go be a loser all he wants. And it's probably the same loser that actually paid me money to say racist things on the chat. That's the funniest thing about it. But we've always had a really good channel here where I don't have to put settings on. I can. These dumb trolls think they're hurting somebody. They're not. You can just set your settings to not allow them to do that. I just don't think we've ever really needed to on this channel. So we will. No big deal. They can't hurt us. From behind a keyboard, you little bitch. You little sorry bitch. Raider Nation. Yeah, we got some Raider fans too. But man, yeah, as a kid, a lot of my feelings towards sports teams, a lot of that was developed as a kid. I just really believed in being loyal because when I lived in North Carolina, at the time, things have changed over the years, but at the time, there was no professional teams at all. It's all they had was college. There was no Charlotte Hornets. There was no Hurricanes. And there's no Panthers. There's nothing. They had nothing. Now they have more pro teams than we have here in San Diego. But back then it was all college. So I can give the fans there the benefit of the doubt. If you have no professional teams, you have to pick somebody to choose for or to cheer for. I get it. But it seemed like all those Braves fans and all those Cowboys fans bubbled up out of nothing and materialized out of thin air just because they were winning some pennants and winning some titles. And I found that to be ridiculous. I'm like, yeah, it's real easy when you say we won, when you get to pick your favorite team, when you go out there and look at all the teams and just pick the best one and say, I'm on their team now. Like, no wonder. You know, you can't brag about that. I didn't like it when kids came to school bragging about how their Cowboys won the Super Bowl. I'm like, you've never even been to Texas. You've never even left the state you're living in. And you're sitting there acting like you're some diehard Cowboy fan. Fuck you. And get this we shit out of here. We won. We won. You didn't win shit. The Cowboys did. A team in a city that you've never even visited won. And that's what I had to deal with in North Carolina because I had a friend that was like a Braves fan, a Cowboys fan, an LA Lakers fan. I'm like, you can't do that. It's not fair. It's not fair. You gotta stick with where you were born. That's why when I was born in Detroit, Pistons, Wings, Lions, Tigers, that's it. Even when they suck, that's it. That's my sports lecture for the day. So anywho, I am going to get out of here now. I appreciate you guys hanging out on this nice Sunday evening. Looks like we went just about 2 hours, which was a nice, fun, full podcast. I will push the audio out to the podcast feed and shove it up on the website if anybody would like to download this for their listening pleasure. And we will be back at it again tomorrow night for the Raw review, so make sure you're here immediately after the show. And I'll throw a link up to tomorrow's Raw review on the channel probably just later tonight. So y'all just take a look out for that, or keep a lookout for that. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks for the engagements. And make sure that you hit the like button and subscribe if you're not already on the way out the door. You guys have a great rest of your night. Catch you tomorrow night for Raw. Y'all be good.